Yep, hi all. It says October 2020, and we're having a look at these, the MaxPeedingRods Coilover suspension kit for the WR1 Subaru Impreza. So quick unboxing. There we go. Tuck it in gently so I don't scratch anything. It's literally brand new. Have a look at these. So UK. Oh, look at those. Okay, got some stuff here. High quality, high quality. See, it's even got a Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, customer service stuff there, etc. Right, let's have a look at these, and let's see, we've got tools for adjustment. Okay, let's get one of those out. I'll have a look at that. Okay, so we've got, let's touch this spring. There we go. That back in there. So we'll have a look at a couple of these. Now, the reason I've gone for these is that the car does have ProDrive units on, but they're exceptionally disgusting looking and shitty looking, and probably completely fine though. But I want to be able to take those off and put a new one of these on straight away, and then the wheel back on, and I can still use the car. And then the plan is for me is to then investigate how good these original ones are, and if they're still good, still savable, usable, all that sort of stuff, then I can get them, take them apart, get them sandblasted, powder coated in the correct colour, looking absolutely mint, and then use these ones here, you know, for a number of weeks, a few weeks or so, and then determine simply which set's better. If the original ones are better, they'll go back on the car, and then these ones here will get flogged. But I didn't want to have to take them off, have the car up on the axle stands for a number of weeks, you know, whilst they're at the blasters and having issues and there's any problems with them and all that sort of stuff, you know, or if I take them all apart, you know, and they're all knackered or whatever. So I know that these are not expensive at all. These are the dirtiest cheap things you can get, and I know they're probably cheap for a reason. However, that's my sort of scenario, just to keep the car on the road whilst I get the other ones blasted, and then go from there. These are meant to be much firmer ride as well. So I've gone for this colour here, which because we've got this here, which virtually matches the Brembo calipers. That's what I wanted. And obviously there's much physically smaller springs on them. They coated them in oil to stop them rusting, so that's obviously quite a good thing. You know, I know that these aren't going to last 10, 15 years, whatever, like the original ones have lasted, but they're dirt cheap, they look good, there's no corrosion, there's no shittiness on them, you know. And if they are no good, you know what, it's fine, cheap, put the original ones back on and go from there. And I can't understand how things like this can be so cheap, you know, and look beautiful. I mean, fucking hell, look at those. Fuck me, they look superb. Some focus on that. Absolutely beautiful. The car is garaged, you know, it's going to be well looked after, this car. Yes, I will be using it in all weathers if I need to use it, of course. But it will be kept, say, clean and dry in the garage. So you've got adjustable for camber on here. That's absolutely lush. So it's got a coating of oil basically to protect it. I mean, yes, of course, you might stick this on, it might rust in 5 minutes, but so my car's kept in the garage, so it should be right. All looks really good, solid welds, good quality, adjustable ride height on the car. I'm not bothered about adjustable ride height as such, this is just how they come. I'll want to keep it the same height, but obviously if I put them on there and they're really rock hard after a number of miles, then of course I can probably loosen these down a bit to lower the car and that therefore in theory should then give me a sort of softer spring rate. That's kind of my thought. But like I mentioned, you know, I've got the ProDrives. They'll be out, they'll get blasted anyway, you know, so they can go back on if necessary. But yeah, look at those, absolutely lovely, really good. Yep, hi all. So Subaru WR1 Brembo. So what I'm doing is changing over the suspension, the coilovers. These original ones here, which are original ProDrives. Now these are going to get sandblasted and painted, powder coated if they're still good. To usually they probably are. And then these will be going back on the car. I don't want the car off the road for X number of weeks and on stands and all that sort of stuff, so I'm going to use it. So I'm putting on these cheap jobbies just to keep the car on the road. And you never know, these might be epic as well, so that's all good. So these are the MaxPeedingRods coilovers, adjustable. So obviously this is the front one here, and it's covered in sort of anti-seize grease because I've sort of looked online and everywhere else, you know, and obviously meant to sort of put loads of grease all over these threads, cover this in anti-seize, all that sort of stuff, so it makes obviously aiding tuning much better, which is what obviously I'll be doing for them at the moment until these ones here are blasted and the rest of them are over there until they go back on the car. So I've looked online how to set these, how I believe to set these up, and what I've done is I've had a look, and these are something like 7 kilograms springs at the rear and I think 9 kilograms at the front, and you're meant to sort of generally start up loading up to about 50 kilograms, which is about 6 millimeters, which is basically the thickness of 2 of these spanners. So what you do is you loosen this off until there's no play in here, then you tighten up the first ring until the spring won't move, and then put the collar up and then tighten up this one here further about 6 mil, just in order to get your 2 spanners in there. Then once that's done, you can tighten up the locking collar against it, hold them both, cinch them shut, job done. And then on the other side, I don't have a number to sort of start with. I haven't got, you know, a certain amount for the ride height to start off with. So what I've done is I've just set it to 10.3 centimeters because I didn't want to go too high. So that's about halfway on here. So I'm hoping that this is not too slammed. I don't want the car low. I don't want the car standard height. So that's, yeah, so now I'm going to measure that. I've measured that as being 10.3 mil. I'll put this on the strut on the car, and once it's on the car, then I can tighten up the locking nut and obviously recheck that it's 10.3, and if not, I can then just adjust it a little bit either way to get the 10.3. There's caster bolts here to worry about as well, so I'm going to get those on, anti-seize everything, get the thing on the car. There's adjustments on the top here, so I'll set those all to 0 and then see how it goes. And then ultimately, if it feels good, you know, for the meantime, then I'll get all the tracking and etc. all done and adjusted properly as per this. If it's too harsh and too bumpy and can't be living with this for much longer, I plan it anyway and taking these down to the blast as soon as I've stripped them, and see if I can get the shock absorber out. Then they can get blasted, you know, next week, and then they can potentially go back in the car in a couple of weeks' time. So, you know, we'll go from there and see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, certainly in terms of the look quality, you can tell they obviously haven't got the big rubber bump on here, which these ones have. These have got much larger springs, much shorter springs, so you know that these are going to be a harsher ride. But obviously these are adjustable and tunable, and you can lower the car with these, which you can't do with the other ones. But I don't want to lower the car, but for me, these were just a cheap option just to get these on the car, so I haven't got to take the car off the road. So yep, I'll get these on now. I'm going to change over that anti-roll bar clamp. Obviously I'll clean up, re-clean the disc cleaner, and go from there. Cheers. Well, they're on. So, like I mentioned to you earlier, I've done about, I've done two thicknesses of spanners worth of about 6 mil of preload on those front springs, which matches the rears, because there's no specific specs for these other than that's a general guidance. And then I've got the 10.3 millimeter between here and here, obviously all locked in. I've made the camber nut, which is the top one, based on both sides the same, which basically means it's flush as possible with this piece of metal here against the orange piece here, so it's just flush, so they're both in the same position. And I believe I can just do the camber from the top nut on these ones, but I need to double check that anyway. But obviously that's something anyway that the garage will set up anyway. So yeah, so it's out for a quick test drive, and it looks good. It looks like it's slightly pointing down, which is what I wanted. I'm going to measure the front, so I've got the measurements at home. I think it's pointing down slightly at the front, so it looks good. Obviously it's harder ride. That's all set, zeros on there, all tightened up obviously. Down, zeros on there. And it's all even, adjusted very evenly. It definitely looks the right stance, basically. Yes, I'll measure the front, but basically I'm really happy with the stance. Now I just need to get some comfort out of this car, that's all, whilst I get the ProDrives done. Okay, cool. Potentially good.